In this video, I'm going to be taking my front end apart for the second time this year and giving you an update on the Apex Chassis steering kit. So yeah, I'm taking off the steering kit because my brother replaced this Heim joint on the PMF track bar here. And I don't know, I've had very mixed thoughts on the Apex kit since installing it. On the one hand, it's been pretty durable. On the other, like, adjusting the steering has been just a huge pain. So, oh jeez, I'm gonna need a breaker bar for this. Nope, never mind. But it's been a huge pain to do anything on because of clearance issues. So they recommend using a steering stabilizer that goes in the eyelet, and I tried that and it caught my coolant hose. Thankfully, I was smart enough to check clearance before I drove away. There's that. There's the fact that their grease boots are terrible. I'm putting like a third new set on. And the Ninja washers are just not, I mean, again, they work great when you know how to work with them, but if you don't know how to work with them, it's like, good luck, man. So I don't know, it just really seems like they made something in a shop and then kind of, you know, rolled it out and didn't really think about it, you know, for the average customer of theirs, I guess, is kind of where I'm at. So I had to take the Carli low mount off, and I need to straighten my steering wheel, but I have to pry these, you know, Ninja washers off, and I'm assuming they're gonna break because they're like a single-use washer that has these metal bendy tabs that snap off. This comes off like that. And there is the grease boot that leaks everywhere. They said they changed this. All right, this is Exhibit A, why I do not like Apex chassis. After having this, I'm still trying to get this off just so I can adjust my steering wheel. You know, just still trying. And it's, you know, you could have thought through maybe a little bit better. You know, people who actually, it's what all these companies, these aftermarket companies, they don't build shit that's for people who actually drive. They build it for people who are going to put it on their any level F350 to go to SEMA once a year, and the truck never gets in alignment after they put this kit on because they don't do any updates or modifications, or they don't take care of shit. Pardon my French, but I'm really surprised I haven't snapped any of these tabs off yet. You know, and again, I could probably take this somewhere and have it be someone else's problem, but the last time I tried to make this someone else's problem, the shop didn't tighten the nuts because they also didn't know how to work with these, you know, proprietary baloney things, and it just was a huge mess. So I don't exactly know what my plan is. I couldn't get the Pitman arm side of the drag link to come out, even beating on it with a hammer, and I left my propane torch in Colorado, so I don't have a way to heat it up. So I'm going to try to just take and adjust this end. Hopefully, I just need to be able to spin this a little bit, because the steering wheel really wasn't that off. It was just like, well, it was off enough for me. It was off like a quarter or a eighth of a turn. So I finally have the steering wheel where I want it. And just to give you an idea, like, these are the tabs you have to bend back. The washer's there. The jam nut's over here. Oh man, this has been, I didn't end up having anything to heat this with, and I didn't want to damage the boot because they didn't end up sending me enough spares. So I didn't use the pickle fork to try to pry that out. So what I ended up doing was just not being very careful and not breaking any of these tabs off. But I mean, it's
it's so hard to work with, and it just is not a common way to do this. And again, if you had a buggy and you were going to set your alignment and then you weren't going to touch it ever again, this would be sick. But on a truck where you're like changing maybe the ride height, or you're changing the suspension, or you have to replace other things, like I had to fiddle with this not because of anything Apex did, but just because I had to replace something with my track bar. And then that threw off the steering wheel alignments, and I had to come fiddle with this, and it's like you're never not going to be fiddling. And then they do have a tool you can use to tighten the jam nuts with a socket, and I ordered it, but for whatever reason it's back ordered. I don't know why a stamped piece of metal is back ordered. But I have to use the Knipex. I do apologize. I am definitely in a bit of a salty mood. And then there's no way to keep the actual the joint from rotating while you torque this. So you can like be torquing the jam nut, have a wrench on the jam nut and on this, and then the joint still rotates, so you end up having it like locked out on one side or cattywampus, which you don't want, because if this, like, it needs to have room to move and pivot. And if you can't get that easily, it's like, I don't know. I just don't understand. Like, you could, and I think they are actually going to roll out a, they're going to be rolling out a new version of this kit that has pins in these and a different kind of washer, probably because they've realized that this is, you know, an issue. But again, it's tough because their kits are, you know, between $1,200 and $1,500, and I'm not just going to go out and buy one when they supposedly give you a lifetime warranty on stuff. So it's a bit of a pickle. And, you know, I'm 2 years in owning this kit, and again, it's been solid. Like, the joint quality is good, but just how easy it is to adjust and use is like, you need a PhD in lock washers. I'm almost there, but I mean, I guess my thoughts mostly on this kit are, again, great if you have a dedicated wheeling rig, but for somebody who's still just using their truck as a truck, aka most regular Super Duty owners, this is not really what you want. Maybe the Synergy kit would be better because they make it more adjustable, but then you can't run a Carli low mount steering stabilizer with the Synergy kit. So really the only way to run dual steering stabilizers, if you want to do that with a Carli kit, is to go Apex or Ford OEM. But with how hard this is to just adjust and do things, and the fact that they didn't think about the clearance issues for a non-lifted stock ride height truck, I mean, the fact that my stabilizer that I got, that they recommend, was binding to the coolant hose on the bottom of my upper pant. I mean, it's like you just threw that on your website without even checking. You know, it was like, oh, this will be compatible because it's OEM, not factoring in the fact that they use these DOM tubes that are thicker and their joints are bigger, so the drag link sits up higher off of the pitman arm. And yeah, I don't know, it's just you know, a bunch of little things that added up after 2 years to me being like, yeah, I would not recommend you get this kit. Again, joints are sound, like they built something, it just is not that well thought out. Okay, so the big thing I want to say and stress about Apex chassis is that they are not bad people. I'm not saying that. I've had a really good experience reaching out to them to get customer service, but I guess, you know, thinking about it more, I think what they built this for as a purpose-built kit isn't for someone like me necessarily. And yes, it's for a Super Duty, but it's not great when you're constantly fiddling with things. And, you know, they have sent me replacement jam nuts free of charge, new boots, you know, grease boots for the different joints. And I don't know. Again, they're not. I don't think bad people. I hope I didn't make this out to be like that. I think you could still. I mean, this kit has 120,000 miles on it, and is still relatively solid. I played the video. There are definitely a few mushy spots here and there, but. Again, there are just some glaring things like those washers, the fact that the stabilizer that they recommend doesn't clear. It just seems like there's a bit of, I don't know, carelessness going on maybe, which I understand happens at companies like that. That's a thing, but I'm just here because again, I'm not being paid by them. I bought that with my own money and I work on my truck. You know, I don't just take it to an off-road shop and have them fiddle with it. And so it's just a headache. So maybe if you get this kit, just have somebody else work on your truck. I hope that was helpful. Again, longevity and durability wise, the kit has been great. It's just a real pain to work on and to adjust, and it doesn't work with some of their recommendations. So again, if you want something that's like really durable over 120,000 miles, like I would say get this kit, but just beware that it comes with baggage. So thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time here on Power Stroke Maintenance. Cheers.